Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Innovation Groundbreakers, a production of the World Summit Awards. If you're curious about global innovation tied to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Catherine Warren, a World Summit Awards board director and president of Fan Trust. I've got a background in media tech with a focus on community building. And for the past 7 years, I built bridges between online and real world communities in order to accelerate the ecosystem in Canada. I've learned a ton and I've built some great relationships. So I want to share all of this with you. If you support innovation, or if you're an entrepreneur building your next big thing, or if you work in economic development, you've come to the right place. So come along for the ride. And with each episode, I'll interview thought leaders around the world so we can learn about the trends, the trials, and the successes when it comes to building a culture of innovation in their home nation. For our first show, I'm so pleased to kick things off with World Summit Awards longstanding executive manager, Nora Wolloch. Nora, welcome. I'm so happy to see you. Where am I catching you today?
Likewise. Thank you, Catherine. I'm based in Luxembourg, but I am originally from Vienna, Austria.
So, Nora, you've been a culture builder for more than a decade. You have a background in theater. You've hosted festivals around the world. What inspires you about innovation culture building in particular?
I think getting the people together, thinking about different processes, formats, platforms, spaces where people can meet on eye level, listen to each other, learn from each other, rather than reinvent the wheel and kind of almost curate the right people that they talk to each other, listen to each other, and then there comes something positive out of it. I think we kind of think and talk too much in silos. Only the startups talking to each other, only the corporate, only the government. And I think to open that up and to have this on a truly global and truly multi-stakeholder field, this was something that I did already in my career as a theater production manager, but also now with WSA.
Very good. So tell our audience about the WSA, the World Summit Awards, about its history and our mission.
In 2003, there was the World Summit on Information Society by the United Nations. And basically, people came together to see how information technologies can contribute to, at that time, the Millennium Development Goals. So how can information, ICTs, can contribute to the achievement of sustainability, support human rights, and empower people in terms of education, health, environment, smarter governments, democracy. And WSA was the Austrian member state initiative. The World Summit Award was the award for the World Summit on Information Society. That's also why it is maybe a bit awkward title that doesn't say much. But the idea was that to all the policymakers, to the decision makers, to provide them a kind of room for discussion and also a more haptic and maybe almost emotional way of talking about ICTs. And WSA said, why don't we kind of link the United Nations process that each UN member state only has one vote in the General Assembly? Why don't we replicate that for the award system? So each UN member state has to organize a local pre-selection, nominate their best local solution to the global competition, and then once a year after a jury process, WSA highlights 40 winning solutions, and these are then presented to the United Nations and to the decision makers. And by knowing what young people or creatives do on the ground with the available technologies in the respective country, you already have a broader perspective, you have better insights, and then the idea was to have a better notion before you take decisions. So this is WSA is doing since 2003. At the moment, we have already 182 UN member states who each year nominate and reach out to their local ecosystem and nominate the best solutions. And then also a lot of the things, how we do things are tied back to the UN. First, our categories, they reflect the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals who give a kind of global radar. Also in terms of multi-stakeholder, what I mentioned before, that it's not only startups or only social businesses, basically whoever has a great digital innovation and solution that contributes to one of the UN SDGs can be nominated. And then also in terms of, for example, how the jury is composed, you have jury members, only one jury member from each UN member state, making sure that there's a balance of having perspectives from all stakeholders, having regional balanced jury members, having a gender balanced jury members. So there's a lot of how we do things that tie back to the origin back in 2003 at the United Nations World Summit.
Tell me about how the mission has evolved, and tell our audience what the core mission is for WSA.
So the core mission is clearly, and that's still from there, that we provide a platform. It's an initiative. It's not an organization. It's an invitational initiative where we build and provide a platform where people can learn about digital innovation on a local level, but with a global goal by contributing to the UN SDGs. And then I think out of that, there are a lot of other submissions and goals that come with that. It's first to support those entrepreneurs where purpose is as important as profit. So those who really work on the ground, who don't go for the big, maybe the quickest scalable solution, but who focus on the biggest impact and how they can scale their impact. So there's a lot of new, and I think this is also what changed a lot during the past, I would say, 8 years, since more and more of the winning solutions come from smaller teams and younger entrepreneurs. There's a huge support network around that. Also, what evolved is that reflecting the demographics on a global level, where there are so many regions in the world where the average, what is it? The average person is younger than 25 years old. We kind of rejuvenated the network and started a youth award and a youth ambassadors program, making sure that young people are involved and that also young voice is heard. And the other thing is really listening to each other and learning about best practice solutions that are already there, that are already implemented, because each of those stories, I mean, when they are awarded at WSA, they need to be in a certain phase. It's not about an investment phase where a lot of other awards look at. It's more about they have to be locally on the ground, already have some proven impact and track record, but not for a long time. So usually we award solutions that maybe have been in a first idea phase 5 years ago, then the team maybe changed a bit. I mean, that's the entrepreneurial journey that every of them knows. But at this phase, they kind of already have a concept that is proven. And ideally, this can be replicated in a country with similar challenges, rather than reinventing the wheel.
Because, I think about it for young entrepreneurs, looking to have an impact. The Sustainable Development Goals are really a beacon on the hill. And not only are they the great global challenges that we would all be wise to concentrate on, but they're markets in disguise. So this is, we know that there's a need for sustainability solutions, or solutions in media and democracy, or women's health, what have you. And so that's where you're going to find your next market opportunity. But it's so important to start local and build your audience on the home front. And then ultimately, that's what's going to attract enlightened investment. So when these companies are eventually investment ready, those investors are going to know they're working on a solution to a global challenge.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, you mentioned the annual competition. How does it work?
So first, each of the UN member states is invited to organize a local pre-selection that can be a local contest or a committee that is nominating the best solutions on a local level. So there are 8 WSA categories. So it's basically summarizing those 8, the 17 UN SDGs into 8 award categories, from learning and education, health and well-being, environment, and green energy, but also business and commerce, government and citizen participation, culture and heritage, inclusion and empowerment, smart settlements and urbanization. So very, very broad. And in each of the categories. Each country can nominate one solution. Then we have a very long online jury process, where this year we had 130 online jury members really reviewing each application. They decided on the shortlist, and then we had a grand jury meeting in this year in India, where 26 jury members from 24 countries came together, discussed each of the shortlisted solutions. We invited the founders for interviews, and then they discussed and compared, like, is this more innovative than the other? What in terms of the impact? How is the team composed? Like, is there diversity in the team? If it's a sustainability solution, how do they actually measure the impact? So then there's a lot of discussions around that, and then they award the 40 winners that are now invited to present the solutions at the Global Congress, which will happen in Chile mid of April.
That's exciting, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But in terms of actual logistics, so let's say that I'm a digital innovator and I've come up with what I think is a noteworthy IP, and I'm based in, I don't know, Ireland. How do I plug into this and make sure I'm nominated?
So you need to get in touch with your local representative. That can be either through the WSA office, or there is a local pre-selection that is then linked to our webpage. Like, this is the official link. If you wanted to be considered for WSA Ireland, click on this link and apply. And then if the local team believes that, yes, your solution is the best in the category, they will hopefully nominate your solution, and that's it.
Okay. So again, starting on the home front, making it through that gateway before you're part of the global nominee pool.
And it is important, that is digital. So it needs to be a digital solution. It needs to be ready and on the market. It has to have some proven track record and impact on a local level, and it has to contribute to one of the UN SDGs.
All right. So I've got a couple of questions on that front, but before we kind of get to the types of solutions that have won in the past, what are the benefits for nominees and for winners?
I think it's clearly the network, it's the community. Everyone, involving you, there are people like you who are crazy busy, who have their agenda, who have a huge team, who have a ton of work and a family, but all of them volunteer because they want to be there and they are interested in the winning solutions and in a community. So once you win WSA and you're invited to the Global Congress, you will meet a global true support network. And if you leverage it well, you will definitely find someone who becomes maybe your lifetime mentor, and you will definitely find people who can be door openers to speak at conferences, or door openers to maybe start your business in a new country. Or like, imagine that you are a founder, and then be it for leisure or for business purposes, you travel anywhere in the world, you already have there a community where you can reach out to and say, hey, I'm coming, can you introduce me to the network there? Who are the people that I should talk to? We also believe a lot in peer-to-peer networking, so that the winners really can learn from each other. This is also, it's a huge cohort of 40 winners plus 5 young innovators per year. And almost 100% you will find someone who already has a better code for something that you were looking for, or a technology solution, or something how they measure their impact, or something how to track their CO2 footprint. So there's also around a lot of this collaboration among the winners, and not being competitive, but really to, again, it's about the knowledge exchange and the learning from each other.
Yeah, that's so true, Nora. Like, I think I've been involved with WSA for about 15 years, and I am still in touch with people I met very early on. It's a privilege.
Also the network grew with us. So there have been people who are involved still since 2003. And then over the time, they became ministers, or they became CEOs of huge companies, or some started their own impact funds. So also the type of people, some of them are still involved and had amazing careers, but are still there. And some of them are just very young, dynamic person who are founders themselves. So I think if the founders and winners use it right, it is one of the best communities you can be part of.
So we've hosted events and grand juries in some amazing places. We've traveled to Baku, Azerbaijan. We've been to Abu Dhabi twice, Hong Kong, Monterrey, Mexico, just to name a few. And this year's Winners Congress is in Chile. So what highlights can we expect there?
So it's not only in Chile, which is one of the maybe most innovative ecosystems. I mean, Startup Chile, I think, has been a success story itself, and I'm sure you will still interview someone from Chile in this series. But we're not hosting the event in Santiago, but we go south. So the event is going to be in Los Lagos region in Patagonia, and there the topic of the event will be Planet Hack, and it's around hacking climate crisis, hacking social cohesion, hacking impact entrepreneurship, and all of that comes together in the region. So on one hand, Chile with the mining industry being not known as very sustainable, but where the whole wealth comes from. But on the other hand, in this region where you have some of the biggest national parks, where you have indigenous communities, where social cohesion is at the core, where creative industries come together and try to really make a more sustainable living, and where environment is at the core of the society in the south. Because of the national parks, because of biodiversity that needs to be there, also because of the threats of climate change, I think it comes beautifully together.
We're going to have companies there. We're going to have sponsors there, dignitaries, etc. If people in our audience represent more corporate innovation, how can they get involved with WSA?
So there are different ways. First, they can, of course, become a sponsor. We're always looking for money, but not just because we need their money, but also because we believe they also get, I mean, if it's a corporate company, usually they think bigger and they think global. Also, they get introduced into a global network of innovators, ecosystem representatives, and kind of see what are the different regional benchmarks. But also we had with corporate partners, we ran for them and with them through our community innovation challenges. Or in terms of corporate innovation, I mean, what luxury, it's a luxury situation to maybe come up with a challenge and get all the creative minds from the diverse backgrounds together and think about how can, I don't know, this and that company really bring sustainability or innovation thinking into their company.
You know, as part of what we do with the global congresses, we introduce winners to global markets, to networks, potential investors, and introduce one another to these distinct innovation cultures. So that's a lot of work on a rolling basis. How do you do it? What are some of the challenges?
The beauty of WSA is that we are traveling. You already mentioned it, but I mean, imagine the Global Congress is now in Chile. So we started from scratch with building a team, building a brand, finding a venue, finding the hotel, finding the logistics, finding the sponsors. So if you go maybe next year, let's say to India, none of this will be there. It is the beauty for the whole community to go to different places and also to explore the different ecosystems and the different stakeholders on a local level and to learn about the markets. But it's very hard to fit it into a marketing campaign or into a PR campaign because, again, a journalist from Chile that maybe worked with us now will not cover an event that is happening in a completely different market. And the other thing is also about the diversity of the categories and sectors. I mean, it is the beauty that you see this global community, the different topics, the different stages and the different stakeholders. But again, it's much easier if you say, this is an award to highlight innovation in education from Africa. Then it will be much easier to target your PR, your sponsors, your marketing campaign, and so on. So I think this is the beauty and the challenge of WSA, to do the fundraising and to also kind of always to kind of start from new. But we have a very dedicated and strong team that is highly, highly motivated. It's also a very small team for all of that work, but I think we are kind of learned to be hyper efficient and to work with so many volunteers from all over the world. Also, obviously, we use a lot of digital tools ourselves to make ourselves more efficient and to drive the whole process. For example, the whole award, the nomination process, the judging process, all of that is running digital through a tool that we developed in-house. But fundraising, yeah, I think it's one of the biggest challenges at the moment, and to have it really on a global level and to find partners that are interested to invest and support the work that we as the global office is doing, and not to, for example, it would be much easier to do the fundraising for, let's say, 5 winners in round 1 sector, but not to really to find people that are happy to support WSA per se. So if it wouldn't be for the grant agreement we have with the European Commission at the moment for a few years, that would be much harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because really you could say that WSA is building an innovation ecosystem for the world, creating this web of lifelong relationships, supporting digital content creators in achieving their goals. And so you're infrastructure builders, you and the team. And you know, to our audience from wherever you are across the globe, this means you can get involved in WSA. So I encourage you to find out more about becoming a winner and to connect with this amazing team at wsa-global.org. So this April 2024, we're going to Chile. We're celebrating the best in digital innovation for the SDGs from 182 member nations. We're honoring this year's winners with a Congress and a gala. And I am so excited, Nora, about being together in Santiago and Northern Patagonia. I'm excited about seeing the Andes, the glaciers, hooking up with some penguins, having a glass or two of wine, that world famous Chilean wine. And to our audience, I hope you will be joining us there. I also understand, Nora, that we will be there for your birthday. So we're going to celebrate with the whole WSA family. And to our Innovation Groundbreakers audience, I'd love to hear from you. What makes your innovation ecosystem tick? If you're a startup founder, what do you need to succeed? You can drop us a line in the comments below and subscribe for more WSA videos. And we will see you again very soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Catherine. See you in Chile.
See you in Chile.